temples. So what are the few lectures here that can offer English? Of course, should offer English content. So without further ado, we're gonna invite Lecturer Tony to offer this talk first when he arrives. Say hello to him.
Thank you, Sean. Well, good afternoon, class. Thank you. Have a seat, please. So first, before I begin, I want to thank God, Buddha, and saints. I also want to thank our predecessors for all the hard work they did propagating Tao from China to Taiwan, Taiwan to the rest of the world. I also want to thank my introducer and guarantor for bringing me to the temple. And I also want to thank Juban Diantuan Sir for giving me the opportunity to speak today. So before I begin my lecture, I do want to start off with a little joke. Once there was a really famous and well-respected speaker. You know, he was erudite, knowledgeable, articulate, virtuous, and he was in great demand. Everybody wanted to hear him speak. So all these people in the town, they wanted to hear him speak, so they invited him to speak for 3 days. And so everyone gathered, when the speaker came, everyone gathered into the lecture hall and wanting to hear him speak. So the speaker came to the podium and he said, does anyone know the topic of my speech today? Of course, they didn't know, so they said no. So he said, well, if you don't know the topic of my speech, there's no need for me to say anything. And he walked away. So everybody's scratching their heads. So the next day, again, everyone assembled into the lecture hall, and the speaker came and asked the same question again. He says, does anyone know the topic of my speech today? And so remembering what happened yesterday, they said, yeah, we know the topic of your speech. They said, well, if you already know the topic, the speaker said, well, if you already know the topic of my speech, there's no need for me to say anything. And he left. So everyone in the town got very perturbed. How do we get this guy to talk? So they had a plan. They said, what we'll do is when he asks the question, half of us will say yes, and half of us will say no. We'll catch him in between, right? So the third day, the speaker comes to the podium and asks the question. He says, does anyone know the topic of my speech today? And then everyone, as planned, half of them said yes, and half of them said no. So then the speaker said, well, those who know can teach the people that don't know. And then he left. That's the joke. So, having said that, does anyone know the topic of my speech today? Okay, that's my joke. Okay, so first, there's many synonyms for precious, valuable, priceless, cherished. I put innocent and fragile because babies are precious, right? And so to understand why Tao is precious, we need to understand what Tao is, what is the meaning of receiving Tao, and after receiving Tao, what are the advantages or how does it impact our lives? So what is Tao? Now, it's difficult to explain what Tao is due to the limitations of language, right? Unfortunately, in this context, that's all we have. That's all we have is language. And unfortunately, also, a lot of the descriptions that we have of Tao are either written in Chinese, the Buddhist texts are written in Pali or ancient Sanskrit. Our Grandmaster Tien Rangu 4 said, the great Tao is beyond words, but without words, its essence cannot be manifested. If it is not clearly and adequately described, the essence of Tao cannot be understood. So, there's a few descriptions, though, if we look at some of the writings and so forth. For example, in the Bible, right, it says in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's one description. Another description would be God Almighty, the Creator. The Muslims say Allah. In ancient Sanskrit, it's called Parama Ishvara, Lord of Heaven, Eternal Mother. I always quote from the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita says, nothing is superior to it, and everything rests in it like pearls strung on a string. Oh yeah, I forgot this part. Here. That was my introduction there. So this is going to be some class participation. We are going to have some class participation, okay? So let's start though. So let's talk about a description of what Tao is. What is Tao? What is God? Can anyone tell me where that is? Where can you find those writings? Where can we find that? Very good, very good, very, very good. Okay, so let's go over this. Let's see what this is. Let's break this down, right? So the first word here, Ming Ming Sangdi. I put unlimited brilliance is what I put down. Actually, in Chinese, the word Ming means bright. And in Chinese, if you want to emphasize something, you say the word twice. So you say Ming Ming, which means very bright. But in this context, we're going to go a little bit deeper here, okay? It means I put unlimited brilliance. Now, what does that mean? Get this out the way. Oh, it's in the way. When the nuclear bomb was first tested in Los Alamos, the inventor, Robert Oppenheimer, quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita again, and he said it was like 1,000 suns rising at the same time. That's how bright it was. So that's an idea of what Ming Ming is. Not just bright, it's super brilliant. Thing here. Okay, next is Shangdi. Shangdi, right? This word Shang means up. It means up. And Di means emperor. So it's the emperor up there. Shang also, for example, when a person dies, passes away, they always say he is Shang Tian. Tian is heaven. So he's Shang Tian is what they say when a person passes away. So Shang Di is the emperor up above. This word Ming Ming Sang Di was coined by Confucius originally. Confucius. Then we have Wu Liang, unlimited, unlimited. God is unlimited. Tao is everywhere. God is unlimited. That's what it means here. Serene, Qing Shu, serene. Serene, again, is peaceful. Just like, for example, if you go to a lake, okay, the water is very smooth and tranquil. Even if they have, different rivers flowing into it, that doesn't disturb the tranquility of the lake. We have Zi Jun, most reverent, right? Sheng, most holy, and Sanjay, three realms. Three realms they're talking about is the three realms. We have the realm of form, which is the realm we're living in right now, where there are physical limitations. There is the subtle realm, the realm of mind, where there's no physical limitations, but there's time limitations. And then we also have the spiritual realm also. So if you remember your three treasures, that's also those words there. Also, Sanjay is up there, right? You see the Sanjay also there. Also, the highest realm is called Wuji. That's the highest realm, Wuji. On the altar here, the holy lamp, that character on the top of the lamp right there is Wuji. That's Wuji. Okay. Then we say Shi Fang. It means 10 directions. Now, the 10 directions is up, down, in the four ordinal directions, and the ones in the middle. That's not really, that's again a kind of a euphemism. It really means all pervading everywhere. I like to use the word ubiquitous, Shi Fang. And Wu Liang, 10,000 souls, again, another euphemism. Actually, God is creator of all the souls, not just 10,000, but that's God's creator of all the souls. And then Zheng Zai, true ruler. Okay, we've been so many rulers on this earth, right? We know there's so many kings and queens. What happened? They all pass away. They all go. They're only temporary. God is a true ruler because he outlasts all of them, if you would. Okay, so so again, and also in our Tao environment, we use the word Lao Mu. We use this term here, Lao Mu. Okay, so that's another description, another way to talk about Tao or God. So a tree can grow because it has roots. Water can flow because it has its source. Similarly, Tao is the source of all existence. It is that from which everything comes, that by which everything is controlled and maintained, and that into which everything returns at the time of death. I'm sorry, at the time of dissolution. At the time of dissolution. And so, we have the Purity and Stillness Sutra here. It's called the Qing Jing Jing. We chant that actually every day. And we're going to chant it all together. We always chant it in Chinese. Now we're all going to chant it in English. So all together, follow me. Everyone together, okay? The great Tao is without form, yet it gives birth to heaven and earth. The great Tao is without preference, yet it regulates the sun and moon. The great Tao is without name, yet it nurtures the universe. I do not know its name, but can only address it as Tao. Very good. Okay, that's what it says. We say that all the time in Chinese. Might as well get to understand what it means in English, right? And so, in other words, it says here, the Tao gives birth to heaven and earth. In other words, something does not come from nothing, right? Existence does not come from non-existence, okay? It says here that Tao regulates the sun and the moon. So we know that gravity controls the orbits and the stars and the planets. There is order in the universe. Otherwise, we couldn't do science, right? There has to be order in the universe. And so there's the laws of physics, there's the laws of chemistry, there are the laws of biology, etc. And we call these natural laws Wu Li. That's how we say it in Chinese, Wu Li. So if we observe, we see that the universe functions as a well-designed system. This design must come from an intelligent source, and all the great men of science have understood this, okay? All the great men of science. So don't think just because you study science, you don't believe in God. So, for example, we have here Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton is considered to be the father of modern physics, right? He was the one that actually discovered the law of gravity. He gave us gravity, right? He gave us the law of gravity, right? Isaac Newton actually invented calculus. Someone tell me, if you study calculus, raise your hand. If you study calculus in school, raise your hand. Who else? Study calculus in school. Okay, so he invented it by himself. Isaac Newton discovered optics. He founded the science of optics. That means if you take a light and shine it through a prism, you get all those different colors. That was Isaac Newton. He also understood that the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. And he also began the science of thermodynamics. He wrote all the different equations to describe the cooling of a object. He wrote those equations. So all that, and he did all that by the age of 23. He got all that done. Greatest scientist that ever lived. So Isaac Newton says, gravity explains the motions of the planets, but it cannot explain who sets the planets in motion. When I look at the solar system, I see that the Earth is at the perfect distance from the sun to receive the proper amounts of heat and light. This did not happen by chance. This most elegant system of the sun, planets, and comets could not have arisen without the design and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. And finally, he who thinks half-heartedly will not believe in God, but he who really thinks has to believe in God. Oh, and it doesn't stop with Isaac Newton, by the way. So we have some more scientists, right? We have Einstein, right? Yeah, E equals mc squared, special relativity. He won the Nobel Prize for photoelectric effect. Einstein said, the more I study science, the more I believe in God. Nikola Tesla, named after the car. He didn't have anything to do with cars, by the way. Nikola Tesla actually, there was a rivalry between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison thought that the best way to transmit electrical energy was through direct current, and Nikola Tesla said, no, alternating current. And so that's why you plug something into the wall, that's alternating current, that's Nikola Tesla. Okay? Nikola Tesla said, what one man calls God, another calls the laws of physics. Furthermore, he said, the gift of mental power comes from God, divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power. Then we have Michael Faraday. Einstein had 3 pictures in his office. One picture was Isaac Newton. The other picture he had was James Clerk Maxwell. If you guys studied, he actually developed all of the equations that describes a magnetic field. It's called Maxwell's equations. Einstein had a picture of Michael Faraday in his office. Michael Faraday actually discovered what's called electromagnetic induction. That means if you take a wire and move it through a magnetic field, that generates an electric current. That is how electricity is generated. That is how the Hoover Dam works. That is how nuclear power plants work. Wind energy, that's how it works, with the exception of solar. That's how we get electricity. Michael Faraday said, the book of nature which we have to read is written by the finger of God. And then finally we have here Louis Pasteur. I hope you guys know Louis Pasteur, right? You drink milk that's pasteurized milk. Louis Pasteur said, the more I study nature, the more I stand amazed at the work of the Creator. Science brings men closer to God. So these are some of the most important people in science there. And so one of the arguments for the existence of God, one argument is called the design argument. Another one of those arguments is called the fine-tuning argument. Fine-tuning argument. And so these are what they call universal constants, right? Universal constants for the speed of light, right? Gravitational constant, right? So forth and so on. Avogadro's number, were you guys paying attention in chemistry class? Yeah, you better believe it. And then Planck's constant. I want to talk about Planck's constant momentarily, but those are the universal constants. Now, actually, those are just a few of the universal constants, right? Sorry about that. Actually, I have 7 pages worth of those universal constants. Seven pages worth. See? And as you'll see, those universal constants are measured out to like 6, 7, 8 decimal places. That means if these universal constants are not at those exact values, the universe will not function correctly. And so let me give you a crude example, a very crude example. For example, the air pressure in your tire, right? If the air pressure in your tire is too low, then it can't support the weight of the vehicle, you'll have a flat tire. If the air pressure in your tire is too high, then you're overstressing the tire, very well could explode the tire, very well. So that's a crude example. The air pressure has to be good. Let me give you a more refined example. Think about all the electronics in your phone, the electronic components in your phone. Those components have to be exactly correct, otherwise the phone will not work. And so similarly, all these universal constants have to be exactly the right amounts, otherwise the universe won't work. And so where does this fine-tuning come from? This fine-tuning comes from Tao. Also, the same Tao, okay, is also within you, okay? Your body is actually a microcosm of the universe, okay? It's so well organized and also so finely tuned, right? All the organs in your body function, right, in an orderly fashion without any conscious thought of you. They function autonomously. Your body has cycles, right, of activity and rest. Your heart beats at a certain amount, rate. You have your lungs breathing in and out, your digestive system, and so forth and so on like that. A woman becomes pregnant, right, and then she has and the embryo goes inside of her, and without any conscious effort on her part, she just eats and lets nature does her thing. She doesn't have to think, gee, let me go ahead and create the kidneys, let me create the liver. No, none of that. Someone who wants to become a doctor has to study anatomy, biology for many, many years just to become familiar with one small part of the body, right? So many years they have to study just to become a dentist, just to work on the mouth. Or so many years they have to study just to become an eye doctor. So many years just to become an eye doctor, okay? We have so many, scientists have put so much effort in designing machines that duplicate and replicate the different organs of the body, right? Like kidney machines, right? We got dialysis, we got artificial lungs, artificial limbs, artificial hips, on and on. The greatest scientists and doctors of the world designed these wonderful machines. But who designed the original machine of the human body? That is Tao. So, the entity, Tao is the entity that animates our body. Without the Tao, the body is a dead body. The Tao is what distinguishes an animate object from an inanimate object. Sixth Patriarch says, when nature abides, the body and mind exist. When nature departs, the body and mind perish. We also call this our human nature. It's called singly. We call it singly. Tao is your consciousness. It is your conscious awareness. It is your soul. Consciousness is not a physical entity, nor is it generated by neurological activity. It's a paradox, actually. That paradox is called the hard problem of consciousness. And so I have here Max Planck here, Nobel Prize winner, right? He's the father of quantum mechanics. He developed the quantum theory, Max Planck, the Planck's constant named after him. Max Planck said, all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. Max Planck said, whence come I, and whither go I? That is the great unfathomable question, the same for every one of us. Science has no answer to it. And he says, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as a derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. Again, that consciousness we're talking about is the Tao. Then we have here Edwin Schrodinger. Got my umlaut here, or the O. See the umlaut? Another Nobel Prize winner. And he also did more on the quantum theory. He actually wrote the equations that describe the energy of an electron in a potential field called the Schrodinger equations. You guys studied that? You studied that? Yeah, see? Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay. So he said, consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms. For consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It cannot be accounted for in terms of anything else. We do not belong to this material world that science constructs for us. We are only spectators. The reason why we believe we are in it is because our bodies are in the picture. And so, I have one tangent, couldn't help myself. And that is Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was not an atheist. Don't let them tell you that because of, he gave us natural selection and evolution, right? And so they try to say he was an atheist. No, he was not an atheist. He was not an atheist. Atheists co-opt his information to make it sound like that. No, he was not an atheist. Actually, he was an agnostic. In his autobiography, he says, in my most extreme fluctuations, I have never been an atheist in the sense of denying the existence of God. I think that generally an agnostic would be the more correct description of my state of mind, just so that you know. So don't let them pull a fast one on you, okay? And so, a second here. I gotta get a drink. What is Tao enlightenment? What do we receive? We receive nothing. How is that possible, right? We all bent down here. Repeat after me. How can you say I didn't receive anything? Right? We went through the whole Tao ceremony. How can you say we didn't receive anything? So, Siddhartha Gautama Sakyamuni Buddha received enlightenment from Dipankara Buddha. He received enlightenment. That's him right there. Ren Dongfor is the other name, Chinese name, and lamp lighting Buddha. And actually, in Taiwan, there is a festival called the Lantern Festival in commemoration of him. And so, in the Diamond Sutra, there's a verse in there. That's the Chinese for you. If y'all want to pronounce it. He asked Sakyamuni Buddha, did the thus advanced, that Sakyamuni Buddha, did make any attainment in the Dharma when he was in the place of the lamp lighting Buddha? And Sakyamuni Buddha said, Buye, means no, I did not obtain anything. Actually, there's another explanation. He says, actually, he lost something. He lost his ignorance, he lost his fear, and he lost his desire. There's another verse here. Again, from the Ching, Ching, Ching. Again, from the we chant this, the long, long sutra we chant. Okay, there's a verse, there's a line here. Although one is called as having attained the way, in reality, there is nothing obtained. That's also in the Ching, Ching, Ching we chant all the time. So, let me explain. How is it that we didn't receive anything? How is that possible? Let me give you an analogy. So suppose you were stuck in a burning building, right? And you didn't know how to get out. So I point to the door, and the door's locked, so I unlock it for you. And now you can get out of the building. Did I give you anything? No. This is an analogy of the soul trapped in the physical body, right? If I point you in the correct direction, and I say that way, and I unlock the door, I haven't given you anything. I haven't given you anything. Similarly, during the Tao ceremony, the Dian Tuan Tzu, the master, points to the doorway of your soul, of your spirit, and unlocks the door. Opens your third eye. That's why it says here, I have the great Dharma, which is hidden in the eye. And so, only the enlightened master, who has the heavenly decree, can point out the way to unlock the door. And so, we chant the Mila Sutra all the time, right? We chant Mila Sutra. We always chant it in Chinese. Now we're going to give you a chance to chant it in English, okay? So everyone, again, we're going to follow along, everyone together, okay? Our Heavenly Mother, Lao Mu God, mercifully descended the great Tao to this earthly world and sent the enlightened masters to unlock the gates of our souls to show us the right path to go back home, which is absolute heaven, where we originally came from. One needs to find and recognize the enlightened master who comes from the heavenly world with the heavenly mandate. The enlightened master can help restore our pure original nature by transmitting Tao and the three treasures to us. Our holy teachers, Patriarch Zhang, the incarnation of Jigong Living Buddha, and Matriarch Sun, the incarnation of Yerwei Bodhisattva, are in charge of this last salvation. Anyone who wants to receive Tao needs to register their names with our holy teachers. And so, our holy teachers are Tianran Gufor, who is the incarnation of our Jigong Buddha, and Zhonghua Sammu, who is the incarnation of our Yerwei Bodhisattva. So, you haven't received anything because you are already a Buddha. You just didn't know it. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says all living beings are originally Buddhas. And so the goal of philosophy and religion is to address these three most important questions, right? Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? And one more I'm going to throw in there is, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And so the great king, Zhang Zi, said, I originally did not wish to be born, but suddenly I was born into the world. I also do not wish to die, but the day of departing is suddenly here. And so, the preciousness of Tao is that it gives you freedom from the cycle of birth and death. The cycle of birth and death, there's a name for that, it's called samsara. And so, Fifth Patriarch says, what could be more important than freedom from birth and death? Yeah, birth and death are of the greatest importance. And so, actually, my favorite parable in the Lotus Sutra, if you read the Lotus Sutra, my favorite parable is the parable of the burning house. And so, there was one very, very wealthy man. He had a very big house, mansion, and and in the mansion there were children. He had his children playing in the mansion with their toys. And then one day the mansion caught fire. But the children were so engaged in their play. They were so engaged in their play, they completely oblivious to the fire. They didn't know what was going on. So the man's calling to the children, get out, fire in the house. Get out. Time to get out. But the children were just so absorbed in their play, they ignored the man. So ignoring the predicament they were in. And so this is an analogy, right? We are like children in the burning house. The burning house is the fire of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. But like the children, right, we are not aware of the danger that we are in. Rather, we are so absorbed in our toys and our play, oblivious to the danger of our predicament. And so just like children, we are absorbed in the play of life. We falsely identify our body with the self and ignore the real self, which is our soul. And so instead, we spend the entirety of our short lives chasing after what? Money, fame, spouse, high position, power, while everything is burning down around us. Furthermore, due to so many disasters and calamities, the world is described as a danger at every step. Jesus says in Matthew, right, what profits a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And so, okay, it's time to play. Name that Buddha. We can win cash, you can win prizes, and weekend vacations. No, you can't. No, you can't. Okay, so I need volunteers. Ready? Name that Buddha. Ready? Volunteers. Who's that Buddha? Someone tell me. Okay, good. Who is that Buddha? Yeah, Buddha. Good. Yahweh Bodhisattva. Yeah. Who's that Buddha right there? Right, this is a picture of the altar next door, right? Okay. Who is this Buddha right here? Which one? Guan Sangdich, Guan Falitsu. Okay, you ready? Who's that Buddha right there? Someone tell me. All right. Okay. That is Lu Dongbin. I got my umlaut over the U, see? Lu Dongbin. Lu Dongbin was one of the 8 immortals. There's very scant literature in English about the 8 immortals. Not much. But that's Lu Dongbin. So Lu Dongbin actually, he was like the children. He was not interested, originally, he was not interested in any kind of enlightenment or anything like that. Not interested at all. What he wanted was, he actually wanted to be a high government official. This was during the Tang Dynasty. And so he was studying for the imperial exams. Not interested in order to get a position in the government. And so one day he walked into a restaurant, or an inn, if you would, and ordered a meal of yellow millet. Now, yellow millet happens to be a type of a cereal, supposedly very nutritious. I don't know, I've never had yellow millet, but anyway. But you have to cook it. You have to cook it. It has to cook. So he ordered his yellow millet and he sat down waiting for his meal to cook. And while he was waiting for that meal, actually what happened was he fell asleep. He fell asleep, dozed off, and had a dream. In the dream, he dreamed that he actually passed the imperial examinations and became a high-ranking government official. Actually, in that dream also, he had done so well as in the government magistrate position, he got promoted. He got promoted to a higher position. So there he was. Also, he married a very beautiful woman from a very high, noble family, rich noble family. He married her, and they had some children, had a couple of kids. So in his high government position, one tends to make enemies. And so his enemies conspired against him and overthrew him. He was overthrown from his position. Furthermore, his wife cheated on him. She left him. And his children were also killed, also by bandits. So there he was, Lu Dongbin, wandering around, completely destitute, depraved, didn't have anything at all left in the world. And as he was dying, he woke up from the dream. And when he woke up, the yellow millet was still not cooking, still not finished cooking. And so he realized that he lived his entire life, 50 years, in less than the time it took to cook the yellow millet. So he realized that life was short, life was dangerous, and so he decided to become a disciple of Yunfeng, another one of the 8 immortals, and receive enlightenment. So we are like Lu Dong Bin, right? We are dreaming in this material world. And everything that we achieve, wealth, power, position, all disappear like a dream at the time of death. And everything, like just like we wake up from a dream, right? Everything disappears in the dream. So as a result, heaven has sent the enlightened masters with the heavenly decree to show us the way. And it's confirmed here by the fifth patriarch. Fifth patriarch says, if anyone thoroughly studies the Diamond Sutra and repeats and chants the great compassionate mantra without the guidance of a enlightened master, one will remain trapped in the cycle of rebirth. And so, the preciousness of Tao is that one can transcend birth and death. And so, we're going to chant the Mila Sutra some more, all together, okay? All right. If one can truly practice Tao cultivation and follow the Tao of Maitreya Buddha, one will be able to board the Dharma boat of the last salvation and transcend the cycle of reincarnation and ultimately achieve Buddhahood. When we receive Tao, all our names are put on the dragon's list. The list is sent to heaven to be checked by all the city gods to make sure our names are registered in heaven and deleted from the underworld. Yes. And so, actually, said here we can transcend the cycle of birth and death. And that's why Confucius says if a person requires Tao in the morning, they may die in the evening with no regrets, because you can transcend birth and death. The preciousness of Tao, again, is that your name is deleted from hell and registered in heaven. That's why it's important when you receive Tao to give your birth name, right? Some people get married and change their names, so don't do that. Then they change their name. But don't, when you receive Tao, give the name that you were born with, not married name or the nickname or something else like that. And so I'm going to ask everyone, when you get an opportunity, to attend a Tao ceremony as an observer. Observe a Tao ceremony. I want you to watch one. Because when you're receiving Tao, you don't quite know what's going on. But if you observe, then you'll see things that, you'll see certain things. And so, one thing that you'll see is that during the Tao ceremony, they burn the paper, and the upper commander gives a speech. This is a speech. Upper commander gives. The paper that they burn is called the Long Tian Biao. I have given this speech many, many times. I'm not going to give it today because you don't want to hear my bad Chinese pronunciation. But the holy paper is called the Long Tian Biao. It's also called the luminous paper. It's also called the dragon paper. And so during the speech here, there's the one character here, you'll see that it says Long Tian Biao right there. Another thing he also said in the speech is it says Yenjuan, says his name Yenjuan twice. Yenjuan actually is the name for the person who is in charge of the underworld, in charge of hell. So let's go ahead and give you the translation of that, right? So actually, again, during the Tao ceremony, watch very, very carefully, okay? They burn the paper, and the upper commander simultaneously will give this speech. So this means, we'll all read this together, okay? This is a declaration statement of heaven. Once burned, your name is registered in heaven and deleted from hell. From now on, you have no connection with the Lord of Hades. You are no longer under the control of the Lord of Hades. Now you must keep a good heart, say good words, and save good people. Yes. So, one time I attended a Tao ceremony, and there are a group of people receiving Tao. And there was one lady, she had second thoughts. She didn't want to receive the Tao. Actually, they burnt the paper already. They had burnt the paper. Name was deleted from hell, registered in heaven. And the lady didn't want to receive Tao. She had second thoughts. She didn't want to go through it. So we couldn't make her receive the Tao, right? So she walked out in the middle of the ceremony. We let her go, right? Let her go. So what to do, right? We burnt the paper. She didn't complete the ceremony. What are we going to do? What they did was this. After the Tao ceremony was over, the 3 lamps were still lit. They burned another piece of paper, put her name back where it came from. So, who is the Lord of Hades? His name is Yama, King Yama, Yenjuan. He has different names also. It's Yen Lo Wang, same Yenjuan, same. Okay. Interestingly enough, the name of Yama is the same as the name. The name Yama is the same in Buddhism as it is in Hinduism. Same name, same person, same job, same thing. Same thing. Actually, if you read any of the Hindu scriptures, the name Yama appears in all of them. He's in the Puranas. If you read the Puranas, name Yama's listed in the Puranas. His name is in the Mahabharata. Yama. Also, there's a scripture here called the Kathopanishad. I covered that in my first class, remember? Katho Upanishad, spoken by Yama himself. It is actually a highly revered scripture, very deep and highly intellectual philosophical discourse on the soul. So it's unfortunate they made him look a little like that, but actually he's actually like a prison warden, he's like a law enforcer. Yeah, they don't make him look very, very nice in there, but actually he's a law enforcer. He's actually a servant of God. He dispenses justice. And so there's many people who have they practice these different arts. They practice these different disciplines, Taoist disciplines, where they can actually leave their body and go to the different realms. And there are many people who've actually seen saw Yama and actually saw the Long Tian Biao, saw the holy paper. In this world, they describe that the Long Tian Biao is paper like that, but in the heavenly world, it's as big as a house, is what they say. And so there's a story here about Lien Dien Chuan Shi from Thailand. And so one day he was walking down, and he had his briefcase with him, and all the holy paper was in his briefcase. And so one day a man came up to him and started pointing at the briefcase. So the master didn't know what to think. Maybe he was trying to steal something from me. He didn't know what was the deal. Didn't know what was going on. As it turned out, the old man actually, again, practiced those types of disciplines where he could go to different realms. And so in one of his out-of-body excursions, he was actually given a tour of heaven. Sangguan Dadi, 3 immortals came and took him to heaven. And they got to the south heaven gate. They wouldn't let him in. So you can't come in. So why not? He says, you have to go to the human realm. You have to go to the earthly realm and have your name registered on the luminous paper, is what they call the luminous paper. And so he was very, very dejected, very despondent. And so he left and came back. And so he spent many years looking for this luminous paper to have his name registered on the luminous paper. And then one day again, during his out-of-body experiences, if you would, he actually saw a light down below. And he understood that this light was coming from the luminous paper. He understood that. So he went down, and that's when he saw the master, Lien from Thailand, pointing to the paper. And he says, please, master, can you please register my name on that holy paper? And so the master, performed the Dao ceremony for him. The gentleman was so moved and so touched, he said he's been looking for that holy paper for many decades. He actually broke into tears and cried and wept and paid his respects to the master. This is my drink. And so, one of the preciousness of Tao is that you can liberate 7 generations of your ancestors. You can liberate 7 generations of your ancestors. Yama decreed, when you receive Tao, your ancestors will no longer have to suffer in the underworld. Each of them will be given a white lotus flower, and they can go to the lecture hall and listen to the Dharma from Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha. And so, I've heard 7 generations of your ancestors, 7 generations of your ancestors. What does that mean? What does that mean? So, I put this little graphic together here. That's you right there, right? Your parents, grandparents, right? So forth and so on. 7 generations. And so let's do a little bit of math, shall we? 7 generations. So you have 2 parents. You have 4 grandparents. You have 8 great-grandparents. You have 16 great-great-grandparents. You have 32 great-great-great-grandparents. You have 64 great-great-great-great-grandparents. And you have 128 great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. Total of 254 people. So those 254 people actually, minimum, right, are actually get liberated when you become liberated as well. When you go back to heaven, you take them with you. Let's continue, shall we? A little bit more math. Pardon me?
It's really a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Yes, it is a lot. Let's just hypothetically say one generation is 50 years. Let's hypothetically just pick a number out of the air, right? We'll say your parents are 50 years old, just hypothetically, right? So 50 years times 7 is 350 years. That is 3.5 centuries. This is 2025. Minus 350 is 1675. The year 1675, going that far back. Somebody tell me, what year was the Declaration of Independence signed? Someone tell me. Thank you. So 100 years before the Declaration of Independence was signed, that's how far back you can liberate your ancestors. That far back. Okay? So you may not know who your great-great-great-great-grandparents are. You may not know who they are. Very few people do. But you know where they come from. You know where they come from, right? You know where they come from. They come from wherever you're coming from. Thailand. Where's your from? Laos. Yeah, Laos, right? Somebody else here. I don't know if you've got any Europeans in here, but you know, China, Taiwan, Malaysia. You know where they're from. Do yourself a favor. Study the history. Study the history of the land of your ancestors. Study that history. Just to give yourself enlightenment. Just to see. We all know American history, right? We know American history. So my great-great-great-great-grandparents probably came over on a slave. They came over on a slave ship, right? And I got a couple of generations of slaves over there, right? So you guys study the the history of your ancestors. So why do we do all this? Why? Why do we do all this? Why do we do this? Why 7 generations of ancestors? Because you are able to receive the Tao due to the good deeds of your ancestors. That's why you can receive Tao, due to their good deeds. They did all that hard work, okay? All that hard work. So they're passing the baton on to you. Your job is to take it across the finish line. That's why we tell people do not fall asleep in class. So, furthermore, during the incense offering, right? We say what Dian Tuan Su Ikaso, Inbao Su Ikaso, Qian Qian Dao Su Ikaso, and then we do one bow to our ancestors, Zi Ji Ju Shen, one bow to your ancestors. We do that. One bow to your ancestors. Yeah. Oh, someone asked me, do we do a bow to our parents? Yes, we do. We do one bow to our parents. Don't forget that. Okay. And so, become a hero. Make your ancestors proud. Make them proud of you. And so we have the story here from lecturer Xu Changying, right? He tells a story that before he received Tao, again, he was one of those people that practiced those different types of arts, practiced those different types of disciplines, and he could go to all the different realms. And what he saw all the different ancestors, different levels of ancestors. And what he saw was that there are 3 levels. There's 3 levels. So for people who receive Tao, their ancestors are released from suffering and they can enter the Dharma hall and listen to the Dharma and attend the lecture, but they can't, there's no seats for them. They cannot sit down. There's no seats for them. On the second level, it says after diligently practicing Tao for 1 year, your ancestors can enter the second level where they can hear the Dharma hall, hear the Dharma, and they can actually sit down after 1 year of practicing Tao, of cultivating Tao. On the first level, he saw that for people who take further vows like vegetarian vow or temple host vow or pioneer vow, whatever, their ancestors can actually go into the lecture hall, and actually Bodhisattva Siddhi Garba personally instructs them on the Dharma. personally. So who is Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha? So I have a picture of Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha right here. If you go to the dining room kitchen out there, you'll see this. You'll see this, right? See this? It's Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha. And so there's a book, the Sutra of Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha's Fundamental Vows. I highly recommend it. Very, very short book. Not long at all. Very, very short. I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon, by the way, if you want to, you can actually get it on Amazon. In this book, he says, as long as the hells are not empty, I vow not to become a Buddha. Only when all sentient beings have been saved, I will attain Buddhahood. That's Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Also, the lecture saw that there are some ancestors actually whose heads were bowed. Their heads were bowed. And so we asked them, why is your heads bowed down like that? He said, because our descendants received Tao, but after a while they stopped cultivating. They stopped cultivating. And so therefore they can no longer hear the Dharma. They can no longer hear it. And so they have their heads bowed down in shame. So those, yeah, okay? And so, finally, what effect does Tao enlightenment have in your daily life? Well, one of the effects it has is it can change your destiny, right? That was my other class, change your destiny. You can do that, right? I will tell you that nothing will happen without you making it happen for yourself. You have to make it happen for yourself. What good is all this if you don't take any action, right? We must apply and put into action what we've learned. If we do not put it in action what we learned, then it's just as good as someone who is ignorant and doesn't know any better. So you have the three treasures. You have the path of cultivation. Use the three treasures to bring out the Buddha inside of you. The master has shown you where the Buddha is inside of you. Why are you praying to the altar when there's a Buddha inside of you? Why are you praying to the Buddha that died 2,500 years ago? You have a Buddha inside of you. You may have friends that practice yoga, right? And they have a mantra. You have a mantra. There's no mantra better than the mantra that you already have. So use that mantra to calm your heart and quiet your mind. Cultivation starts with changing your heart. Use that inner wisdom. Pray to the Buddha inside of you to become a better person. The preciousness of Tao is that it shows you how to fully manifest the Buddha within you. Develop inner virtues, right? The 5 virtues are benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness, right? Start by establishing peace and harmony in your family. Mencius said, if a person's inner virtues can be fully developed, not only will be able to maintain peace and harmony in the family, but he will also be able to influence others as well. So we need to engage in self-reflection, repent, rectify our minds, become sincere, and establish the foundation for cultivation. And so we must exchange our impure heart for an impure, we must exchange our impure heart for a pure heart, the heart of vanity for the heart of morality, the confused heart with a meticulous heart, the pretentious heart with a sincere heart, the foolish heart with an ignorant, a foolish and ignorant heart with a heart of wisdom, the egotistical heart with the altruistic heart, the chaotic heart with a harmonious heart, the sluggish heart with a diligent heart, and the scattered heart with a peaceful heart, and the arrogant heart with a humble heart. So by receiving Tao, you now become the example, right? There's the Bhagavad Gita verse that says here, what are the symptoms of one who is enlightened? How does he speak? How does he walk? And how does he sit? So no one needs to know what you did this weekend. Don't have to know anything about the temple. They don't have to know anything about all of this. They only have to know one thing. They have to know that you are a good person. That's all they have to know. There's so many stories of people actually who received Tao, and after they received Tao, they become a changed person. There's one story about Zhang Diantuan, sure. And before he received Tao, he was actually a principal in a school. He was a school principal. And so he knows all about children and behavior and so forth and so on. But he had a younger brother, and the younger brother was very unruly, very out of control, didn't know, and the principal Zhang didn't know what to do about his younger brother. So his younger brother received Tao and also attended the 3-day class. And then after the 3-day class, there was a transformation. And the younger brother became very humble, became very respectful. He actually even served the Principal Zhang. And so Principal Zhang was so inspired by that, he decided to receive Tao himself. And eventually he even became a master a Dian Tuan Shi. And so you need to also be good to your parents. You need to be good to your spouse. You need to be good to your siblings. If you have any children, be good to your children and be good at your job and be a good citizen as well. Don't forget to vote. Please vote. My goodness. Vote. You got to vote, especially young people. Oh my goodness. You have to vote. Young people. So, Bai Sui Sunday said, acquiring Tao, let me see this here. Acquiring Tao allows a person to purify their mind, and practicing the Tao enables them to reveal their true self. One who can purify their heart and mind and uncover their true nature will understand the origin of life and not be trapped in the cycle of birth and death. They will also become aware of their responsibilities and life's mission rather than blindly chasing after worldly possessions. Again, so this accomplishes everything that we just talked about. And finally here, our Jigong Buddha says, having tread so many paths in this earthly world, only the path of cultivation will not mislead us. And so, conclusion. So, Tao is precious because it is the source of all things, like I said before, Wu-Li. Tao is precious because it is your consciousness. It is your soul. Human nature, we call that Sing-Li. Tao enlightenment can only be transmitted by the enlightened master with the heavenly decree. Tao is precious because it will allow one to escape from the cycle of reincarnation. Tao is precious because your name is deleted from hell and registered in heaven. Tao is precious because 7 generations of your ancestors can be liberated. And Tao is precious because we are transformed from an ordinary person into a saint, sage, or Buddha. And so, if I said anything incorrect or out of line here, I just ask God and saints for forgiveness. Thank you so much. Okay? Ugh. See if I can do this. Ichigo, Saichigo, Sanchigo. Okay. Thank you, class.
Thank you.
Be seated. Be seated. Start. Get rid of all this stuff here. Thank you, Sean. 1 second. Let me get everything out of here. Get out of your way here. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Tony.
Is that okay? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. That was good.
Thank you.
You want you
Yeah, you're supposed to do it, so I'll do it.
for the benefit of my learning, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Brother.
58 minutes.